Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, we'll give about 2 minutes to see if others join us and then do some introductions and get started. Where are Janelle and Steve? Where are you guys located?
Well,
Hey, I live in San Diego, in Mission area. Yeah.
and I'm in Georgia.
Okay, well, great. Well, thanks. Well, what we do, I have about 6 groups that I manage and funnel them into one Zoom account. And so we get people from all over here, which is interesting to share with one another for sure. And so I have a group in the Atlanta area that I manage, which is probably where you joined, Steve.
Yes.
All right, well, want to honor everyone's time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Tim Fortescue. I am a life coach based in the San Francisco area, but as I mentioned, have the opportunity to interact with folks throughout the country. I am originally, Steve, from upstate South Carolina, and so probably maybe not too far up 85 from where you are. But I'm a life coach here in the area, and so offer these meetups just with tidbits and learning from each other and whatever I can offer. And so today have Dr. Millen, who I'll let her share more about herself, but she is a DMP, practices holistic health, and she is going to talk with us about gut health today. And so I'm going to turn it over to Millen. She'll give a presentation. If we have time, we can do some questions and interact a little more before we close out. But Millen, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Millen Chararker. I'm a nurse practitioner based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I have a few groups on Meetup. So that's where I think Janelle and I were messaging each other today. And welcome, Wendy. And Amanda, who I know very well. So today we're just going to do a little bit of a talk on the gut microbiome. I think a lot of people are interested in this, have heard this sort of buzzword. It's becoming very popular, definitely in the medical field. As far as research, it is becoming something, especially with COVID, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Something that I think all of us in the medical field are really starting to promote, and that's gut health. So here's a little guy who, a little bacteria who likes to eat pizza, and of course the rest of the bacteria like nuts, grains, fruit, veggies. So I thought this was a cute little comic about the gut microbiome. So what is the gut microbiome? And so the gut microbiome are basically bacteria, the microbiota that exist in the gut and help with digestion, protecting against germs, and also vitamin production. And the microbiome and the microbiota are sort of the terms, everyone's calling it the gut microbiome. That is actually the genetic material of the good bacteria in your gut. And they help reduce inflammation, improve the immune system, keep us hydrated, protect us against infectious disease. Now, the gut is key to creating an immunity against the exposed toxins and microbiomes. And we're going to talk about that, microbes. So what affects the gut microbiome? And our lifestyle is important. What antibiotics we're taking, what our toxins are in our life, whether it's pollution, water pollution, any drugs, alcohol, smoking, nutrition, movement, any infections we're getting, and of course stress. That's an important one. The gut microbiome will affect our diet, sleep, and lifestyle choices. And I think this is an evolving field called epigenetics, where we're looking at how the microbiome, the genetics of those microbiota are affecting our gut and affecting how our genes are behaving or expressed. And we're going to hear a lot more about that in the future. So this is just sort of the basics of what the terms you're hearing out there. And this is the big one, it's dysbiosis, and it's often referred to as leaky gut. Sometimes we get gut microbiome imbalances, and this is called dysbiosis. That's when bad bacteria, viruses, and fungus overgrow and release these endotoxins. These endotoxins, as you can see in this little picture here, are affecting these tight junctions, and this is the cells that are lining our gut and actually protect us by being really closely held together. But when the area of the gut is inflamed, it becomes leaky, and these tight junctions kind of we lose those tight junctions. And so the toxins enter our bloodstream, they cause inflammation in our body. And these microbes that are lying around here can also develop biofilms, which actually coat the intestines and cause inflammation. So gut dysbiosis and inflammation are contributing to disease because we see the leaky gut and the toxins entering your system causing autoimmune disorders. And interestingly enough, this gut microbiome is connected to our brain, our oral and pulmonary microbiomes. So I'm not going to get too much into it, but I want people to see the new connections that we're making in the medical field with the gut and how it's affecting the brain. And I think a lot of research right now is focused on how the gut is affecting Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, schizophrenia, and autism spectrum disorders. And we, of course, this is because the gut is affecting your neurotransmitters in your brain, and that in turn affects your mood, behavior, and any anxiety you're having or depression. And the brain, of course, it's a bidirectional system. The brain is affecting your gut. If you're depressed or anxious, it's going to affect how your gut is behaving and how it's absorbing food and getting rid of waste. When we're talking about the gut-lung axis, this is where the hot topic of COVID is really is a hot topic when we're looking at COVID. Altered microbiomes in the lungs are related to allergies, asthma, flu, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. We also see people with lung disease have sort of reflux disorders because we know that the bacteria are shifting from the lungs to the gut. And then we know that allergies and asthma are linked to food sensitivities. So again, that gut-lung connection. And right now there is a lot of work being done on how the lung microbiome could be affecting how we respond to COVID if we were to be infected. So this is, again, really important, how the gut is an important part of our body. And the last is sort of the mouth. And we swallow, our microbiome in our mouth gets passed to our digestive system. We swallow about 1 liter of saliva a day, which is about 100 billion microorganisms. That's a lot of microorganisms. And that plaque or dental film we have in our mouth is a clue into bacteria that's growing on our teeth, on our gums and teeth, and is causing low-grade inflammation and dysbiosis. So again, the mouth is also close to, right? We have one tube going to the digestive system. We have another tube going down to the lungs. So our mouth microbiome is also getting passed to our lung microbiome. So again, all these pieces are connected. So how do you know you need some help? I think look for those systems. Really, any symptoms you're having could be linked to your gut microbiome. And I think that's the sort of big news about the gut microbiome. I mean, we're looking at the brain, the skin, the thyroid, colon, just fatigue, the adrenal glands. If you have bad breath, you have heartburn, you have a lot of GI symptoms, those are the big clue in is GI symptoms. And then, of course, if you have asthma, allergies. So looking for anything that you're experiencing could be linked to the gut microbiome. And I'm practicing integrative and functional medicine, and in functional medicine, our sort of rule is to actually look at the gut first, because a lot of disease can be eliminated or ameliorated by improving the gut. So how do you improve your gut? And these are some things that you can do. We want to give you some take-home messages, and of course, we're going to have a little time for discussion because this is a quick sort of overview of gut health. You can see the dysbiosis, the normal versus the dysbiotic with all the different bacteria and viruses. These are some of the ways that you in your daily life can improve your gut microbiome and immune system. Fermented foods, I'm going to go over that. And we're going to talk a little bit about fermented foods, and we can ask. And prebiotics. And here's some examples. And of course, probiotics. And I get a lot of questions on what probiotics, and we can talk maybe we can have a little more discussion on that. And then lifestyle changes. So that's kind of a quick overview, and we have plenty of time to kind of have discussion. Maybe you guys can ask some questions, or we can do some sharing around what people are concerned about, or what things have they tried, or has anyone tried any of these things?
What questions or comments? We can open it up now.
Yeah, let's open it up. Let's have a little discussion. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question on prebiotics then. So how does that work to make a difference in your gut health?
It gives you an environment. Fiber is a big component to improving the way the bacteria thrive, basically. The bacteria are using that as a base to grow. So bananas are a big fiber food, flax seeds, legumes, all of these have a lot of fiber, and then they probably have some other chemicals that are great for good bacteria to grow in. Has anyone tried any fermented foods to improve their gut? We've got a couple other people here.
What are your thoughts on the kombucha craze? Are you still there, Millen?
Yeah, my thought. You're talking
to me. Sorry,
you're asking everybody.
I don't have any thoughts on it.
I love kombucha personally. It definitely, I drink it on an empty stomach and I feel a difference. So I know a lot of people don't like the taste. I was a big lover of Diet Coke back in the day. And of course, Diet Coke is terrible for gut microbiome. I grew up on Diet Coke. So to me, I like the fizz of kombucha, and I feel like it's a way to have a soda without having a soda. But, I think to each their own. Fermented food. I think you've got to find what works for you. Yogurt is a great fermented food. I've often had patients, and we have a couple women here. A lot of women have, vaginal infections, and, a lot of cultures have yogurt every day, and yogurt is a great way to kind of prevent gut dysbiosis. But some people are lactose intolerant, so that becomes another issue, and dairy becomes inflammatory. So there's other types of yogurt. There's kefir, which is a goat product. Which is a cow product. Cow products are a little more inflammatory. So I'm, we'll tell people go and get, a cup of yogurt if that's something that you can eat. But there's sauerkraut, pickles, cheese can be fermented, fresh cheeses. I don't know. You have any other, Tim, do you have anything that you like?
Well, just the kombucha that came to mind. I'll share this story, and then it keeps us on point, but not really. But I was brewing my own kombucha for a while, and I found out that if you put it in the oven with the light on, it's the perfect temperature for it to ferment and do what it needed to do. but my wife decided to, and wrap it in a towel. But my wife preheated the oven for a pizza and forgot that it was in there, and the fire department had to come. But yes.
Oh no. Oh no.
And she was pregnant, about to have twins. And so it was a very traumatic day. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Go ahead if someone has more questions.
I have a question. How about apple cider vinegar? Does that fall into fermented foods at all?
I don't think it's a fermented food. I think it's a vinegar. It's an acid. So it might help. A lot of folks like to use it, I think, to help acidify the stomach, because people are having hypochlorhydria, which is basically they're not producing enough acid in their stomach. And so they find that apple cider vinegar is helping them with that. But I think the reason people aren't producing enough acid in their stomach is because there may be an alteration in the gut microbiome as well. So I think that has something to do with it.
My wife eats kimchi. She's
Yes.
how about that?
Yeah. I love kimchi. I just even have it with non-Korean food. I think it's a great sort of side dish to your meal, and it's super healthy. And I think what's interesting is so many cultures have fermented foods as part of their daily living for this very reason, because it's healthy for you, and it helps maintain that gut microbiome. So cheese might be it, or whatever culture you're from, there's something that's fermented there. So when people come to me asking me what fermented food, I'm like, go back to your culture and find out what are those fermented foods that people eat, because they're there. I think this is a something that's there evolutionary, culturally, through the evolution. So
What else?
usually I talk more, but this time I was going to try to keep it shorter so everybody could because they want, we've had comments where people want to have the discussion more than they have me talking.
Can you go into a little bit more of the foods that are pictured in this slide? I can't tell what each one of them is. I mean, I can tell what some of them are.
Yeah, this is sauerkraut. This is kimchi. This is yogurt, kefir. This looks like some pickles and pickled.
Looks like mushrooms.
Yeah, pickled mushrooms. It definitely looks like a pickled version. This to me looks like feta, and this is fresh mozzarella. I'm not sure what this is, and I'm assuming this is kombucha. But I'm not sure what that is right there.
And what's next to kombucha between?
Oh yeah, that I'm not sure either. I think it's sourdough. Sourdough is also a fermented food, sourdough bread. So it might be some kind of bread. Yeah, looks like a bread.
And when I always thought of kefir, and it looks like it's got the milk kefir here, but it's also water, like kefir water that you can use.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah. Do you know anything about that? I heard about it through somebody else.
Right. That, and yes, it's a fermented gut thing.
Like a drink.
For me.
Not based on dairy, probably, just the bacteria itself.
Yeah, exactly. I burned my kombucha, so I had to start something else. So that's why I tried that. But yes.
So a big question people have is probiotics. And, I think this is where you could take a probiotic. I had somebody asked me last week, should I be taking, 100 billion, 100 billion product of probiotics? And I said, no, you really shouldn't need that much. But I do think it's an individual decision. And I think everybody's microbiome is different. So what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. The hard part is there's so many different products there, is finding something that works for you. Often I have worked with people who, I do sell high-end pharmaceutical supplements, pharmaceutical grade supplements, and have found there are certain products that are better than others. But I do think sort of, I tell people to start with Culturelle or start with BioCult. These are available, at Costco. You can go to Costco and start and see if that helps you. And you will notice a difference if you feel like that's improving your gut microbiome. I don't think it's the ideal way. Of course, the ideal way would be through food, lifestyle changes. But probiotics have definitely helped a lot of my clients and who are facing issues. And we do gut dysbiosis treatments where we use herbal medications, sort of as not antibiotics, because antibiotics are going to kill off everything in your gut microbiome, but using herbal antimicrobials, which are much more gentler to kind of crowd out, get rid of sort of some of the bad bacteria, bad viruses, um, and then bring back the good with some select probiotics. And that treatment has been great for some folks who have a lot of symptoms. So I think if you have a lot of symptoms, it really behooves you to work with someone to work on cleaning the gut, maybe doing a restart. And we do have programs where we do sort of a gut protocol, and we have you do elimination. There's something called the 5 R's, which is, I always forget but you can look it up, what the R's are. But that is sort of a gut restoration protocol on how to restart your gut and give it, kind of clean it out, give it what it needs, rebalance it, and bring in good things to encourage the gut to work better.
Millen, with the probiotics, when it's talking about the so many strains of bacteria, or I mean millions or thousands or whatever it says, how important is that, and what would you suggest?
So this is another emerging area of research. And what's happening is, so I do stool assessments where I get a breakdown of what's in your gut and what bacteria is there. And even I don't have it all memorized because there's so many different strains. But now they're starting to do research on what strains are connected to what issues and how do we replenish those strains, how to rebalance. We're also seeing that the gut is maybe important in obesity, and that people who are overweight have certain types of gut microbiome. And so we're going to see a lot more coming out about what strains are good for what conditions. And I think that's all still in the research phase. I do get these very detailed, in fact, they're so detailed, it takes me a while to kind of really get my head wrapped around what bacteria are there, what does it mean, what do we need to do to improve it or decrease it. And it takes a little time to figure out what strain somebody might need. But generally, most of them have similar strains. And again, I think it's just everybody's an individual what they respond to. So it's hard to, without doing more research and without doing stool testing, I think it's really difficult to say, oh, you should take this strain or that strain. I usually tell people to start with the basics and then, either do your own, if it's easier for you, do some trial and error on some of the products that are over the counter, or find somebody like me who can help you figure that out.
Got it. But it could make a difference. I know sometimes I forgot me, but some of it's millions and there are big discrepancies on the bottom, I guess.
Yeah, there's different strains. I mean, typically you want bifidobacterium and lactobacilli, but there's there's various strains of those. And so every probiotic company is, of course, marketed and trademarked whatever they're making, and probably they all work fine. It's just a matter of some will work better for an individual than others. And then we sell, we have some higher counts of strain, the 100 billion. I have a couple of those supplements where I will give that to people who are really struggling with GI symptoms. And those folks probably need more testing and more kind of specialized, treatment of what they're going to take versus somebody who's just, for those folks who are just in this group, if you're just coming with a few GI symptoms, taking something over the counter should help you. if you made all these changes, you should see a improved, gut microbiome.
Other questions, comments?
I think the most interesting thing is all the things around us are really affecting our gut microbiome. And there's some things that we really just don't have control over. Like, if we go outside and there's pollution outside, we live in the Bay Area, or we live in Georgia, or we live, wherever, San Diego, there's not much we can do about the pollution that's affecting our gut microbiome. Our water, unless you're filtering, got an ultra filter, that in itself could have some toxins that could be affecting your gut microbiome. But the things that we do have control over are, what we choose to eat, how we choose to move, how we're dealing with stress, and any, and then how we're dealing with infections. I think a lot of folks are going in for antibiotics at the smallest cold. I know I've worked in an urgent care, and every time somebody would come in with a cold, they'd want an antibiotic. And I tell them, hey, this is not great for your system. This is not great for your gut microbiome, to take antibiotics without having a real sense that this is a bacterial infection. Most of the infections we have are viral. And, that is a huge alteration in the intestinal microbiota. And then, a lot of specialists and researchers are really starting to wonder if part of the reason we're seeing a lot more disease is because of this alteration in our gut microbiome. It could be related to the environment, the pollution, our food. Certainly we've seen increased obesity rates. Stress levels have gone up. I know all of us are working a lot. All of us are working from home right now, so all of those factors are really going to play into this. And I think those are the modifiable factors that you can change. And if those things aren't working, then definitely you want to reach out to someone like me who can kind of do the next level of workup. But this is information that everybody needs to have, and needs to work on.
What else? Other questions, comments? I'm curious, and if others have questions, feel free to jump in. But with me, I was diagnosed with diverticulitis in my early 20s, which I know is very young for that. And now I'm 40. But just notice as I get older, more gut discomfort. In general, what would you say to someone like me, I guess, or what are some of the higher priority things that someone could do?
I think if you notice those symptoms and you're working, and I know you, so you're working on all these things and things are not improving, then definitely reaching out and getting stool testing would be really important. Stool testing will tell you exactly what's going on in your gut and give you a higher level information on inflammation, on what bacteria are present, if you have any parasites, and looking out for inflammatory bowel disorder. And fiber is really important for diverticulitis. Basically, you have dysfunctioning the walls of the intestinal system are dysfunctioning. So basically, making sure that system has a lot of fiber, that your digestive system has a lot of fiber. So even fiber supplements are great. Another prebiotic food would be Metamucil or psyllium husk. We give that to a lot of folks as they age, just because they do have motility issues and a lot of GI symptoms, and that would be really great prebiotic food and great for the digestive system for people who've had diverticulitis.
Okay, got it. Other questions or comments? We don't want to prolong or waste time, but we want
this is not a question, more of a rhetorical question perhaps. when do you think, or do you ever think that functional medicine and MD, will ever come together and really help people heal, as opposed to just giving them a
Pills.
pill or whatever?
Yeah. I gave pills for, years, and kind of started realizing the times that I improved people's health was when I actually really spent a lot of time with them. And we worked on all of these issues. And unfortunately, we are hemmed in by the insurance system. So until our, and our, and then sort of old school thinking, my husband's in the tech field, and he always comments, we've been married for 20 years. He always comments about how the tech field is so always advancing and always moving forward, whereas the medical field is always lagging behind by 10 years. And he said he didn't understand that because obviously this was a scientific field. And I agree with you, especially now that I'm certifying in functional medicine, and feel like the light bulb's been turned on for me, and have seen so many changes in the last year after starting my practice, with people getting off of all kinds of medications, reducing chronic pain, improving their sleep, all through natural supplements and herbal medications, and working on things like the gut. uh, it's sad, that we don't. And a lot of those folks, and I was probably one of those. I admit I was one of those folks that was sort of like, functional medicine, what is that? We're just not trained that way. We're not trained to look at root cause. We're trained in protocols and algorithms, and how we sort of, oh, you have blood pressure, then we're going to put you on a blood pressure pill. You've got cholesterol, we're going to put you on a cholesterol pill. And as a nurse, I would say, nurse practitioner, we get trained more on health, diet, lifestyle, movement than everybody else. But I would say, some of my colleagues just don't have that perspective, because they have also 15 minutes to address, a larger issue, and it's much easier to give a pill. So, thank you for your comment. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, and it will happen. I think it's happening slowly, and I see lots of people interested. And that's why we do these forums, so that I think it's also, if we can educate the population about the gut microbiome and health and foods and root cause, then they will ask for that more from their medical providers, and those medical providers will then go get more education on this. But I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Well, let me just add to that. Why I was curious and I wanted to attend this session is because my insurance company has like these wellness activities, so to speak.
Oh.
And one of them is, and then there's a whole myriad of them, and you can choose which one you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read them all, and I chose one called Digby Health.
Mm-hmm.
And they specifically focus on the gut, and they match your DNA.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's very individualized. So they do take a sample of your DNA, and then they give you back sort of a prescription, and I'm using the air quotes with that, in terms of what types of foods you should eat. And they look at food, they look at sleep, they look at meditation, it's a very holistic format. And so perhaps it's not the whole insurance company, but I guess there are some who have ancillary services, which you just have to kind of, look at, explore. And, because I call myself pretty knowledgeable on nutrition, and I'm a health coach, but
oh, great.
I've learned so much recently in this program that I wasn't aware of.
Right.
So, I guess there are incremental changes that are being made. You just have to kind of be aware of them and explore them and take action.
You're right. And I think insurance companies are realizing if they can keep people healthy, then they don't have to, spend as much money, right? So they may have an incentive to start looking in these directions. And the genomics part, the genetic aspects of, and this is new for me as well, and because in conventional medicine for 20 years, I've never gone over somebody's genetic profile, but now that is really becoming sort of the hot area of discovery and looking at your DNA, figuring out what would work, what issues do you have in the way your cells are functioning, and how that might be impacting your health. And I'm excited because I'm going to be learning along with all of you about that, and hopefully getting to an expertise level at some point about genetics and genetic SNPs and how to do that testing. But that's exciting. I'm glad you had that opportunity to get involved with that and access that care. And it sounds like it's really helping you. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I have one more question. I don't mean to monopolize.
Please go ahead.
One of the things that this program has enlightened me to is the impact of natural sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit and erythritol on the gut and inflammation. Do you know? And then I actually had one of the coaches send me some research because I like to read stuff like that. I really, geek out on stuff. Can you speak to that? How does that impact? Because I don't have anything with sugar, but in the past few years, I have gravitated towards those sweeteners. And now I'm finding out that no, those are really not good, and they are inflammatory to the gut. And so I'm like, wow. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I'm reading, is that they are terrible for the gut, and especially the artificial sweeteners, and erythritol. I don't know about monk fruit. I have not done that. I know a lot of folks are using monk fruit as a sweetener, as a substitute for sugar. I have just gotten to the point where it's sort of like I was saying earlier on, I was a kid who grew up on Diet Coke, and I'm sure that wreaked havoc on my GI. I know it did, my GI system and everything. And it comes down to, I've realized even in the diabetes research now, they're showing that those artificial sweeteners are actually worse for us. And because they're also raising insulin levels, and your body thinks that you're having something that's sweet and you're not. And so then you're raising insulin levels. So I'm hearing all the same stuff you are. And it's just better to avoid. And I'm at a point where if I'm going to have something with sugar, I'm just going to have sugar. I'm not going to have a sweetener. I'm not going to have an artificial sweetener. I'd just rather have sugar and have a little bit of it and be done, so it's not very often. So I feel like, we also have to, I always tell my folks who are working with me, you also have to live your life. Yes, I mean, we want you to avoid, pizza and sugar and all these other horrible things that are there for you. But every once in a while, you need to enjoy your life. And I think a little bit is not going to affect your gut microbiome the way if you're consuming large amounts of something. So, but yeah, I'm reading the same stuff you are. And I agree with that.
Thank you.
I'm curious what drew others to this meetup, or what stood out to you. Yolanda, is your name Yolanda? Is that right?
Yeah, I go by Syriaca. Yolanda. Yeah.
Syriaca. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
Santa Barbara.
Okay.
I used to live in Santa Barbara, so that's why I have a little group there. I hope to get back there someday. I met my husband. He was at UCSB doing his PhD. So.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else? I'm just curious. What brought you here? What drew you?
Me, I was just curious to see what topic was being brought up on the gut health, and what what options you're using besides the perhaps even the supplements and that kind of thing. If there was any other technologies or whatever that doctors are aware of out there that they use for treating gut health in the functional medicine world.
Well, the new thing is the poop pellets. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. They're looking at creating basically, strains that would be good for you, that would be from, legit human, feces, and then you would insert that, or you would, that would be the way you would get it. So that's sort of the new technology that's being, of course, it would be all sanitary and everything, but that's the new technology that's out there to improve the gut microbiome. So we're going to hear a lot more about that. I think a lot of people are freaked out about it a little bit. So, but that's sort of the way to fix the gut. Probably they're looking at as a quicker fix, especially for people who end up with serious infections. So that might be on the horizon, or for people who have inflammatory bowel disorders, like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. So there might be some gut microbiome sort of solutions there for those folks.
How the stool sample that you had mentioned, how much does that cost?
I have no idea. I'm sure it's expensive.
But someone would come. So I'm just asking for myself. So I would come to you and.
I mean, right now it's not on the market, but
Got
from
it.
what I've heard, it's being developed to go on the market. So
Okay.
who knows how much that would cost, but yeah, you would get a prescription for it, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about the poop pellets. Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
But just a sample to figure out what's going on in the gut.
What's going on? Yes. So that would be a stool test, which would be done through, there's a lot of functional medicine companies, lab companies, and so we would order it through one of those. And
Okay.
I would get the report and review it.
I'll talk to you about that. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Any closing comments or thoughts?
I hope everyone found this was helpful. I don't know.
What I'm going to pop a couple links into the chat, and this is as close as we're going to come to selling to you, because I know we had one person get pretty defensive the first time, like, why are you here? Tell me now if you're going to try to sell me something, I'm going to leave. So we just like to let people know what we do, what's available. If we can be of a service, great. But I really hope that you gain something from just this meetup here. My website is faithfullygrowing.com. And if you click on that link, I host each month, I schedule different complimentary meetups. Some of those may be of interest to you. Additionally, on that link, if you click, there's a Facebook group that Millen is also a part of, where we can do some interaction. And then I was about to put Millen's in there too. And there is Millen's website, if you would like to follow up or have other questions or comments.
If this is a meetup, and forgive me, I sign up for so many things, I sometimes forget where the source is. Can you email that to us? Because I'm on my phone and I don't want to click on it because then I get completely out of Zoom.
Okay.
Is it possible to email it to us or put it in the notes if it's a meetup?
Yeah.
Yep. If you don't mind, if I can get your email somehow, I can send you a link to that. For those who can click on the link, even though this event has already happened, if you register for it, I will also send you a recording of this and won't sign you up for anything else unless you click you want to be signed up for a newsletter or something. But through this website, you can register there and I'll get your email and send you some information. But Siriaka, if you want to put your email in the chat, or if you want to go to the website and email me, I can get a link to you.
I'm putting it in right now.
Okay.
You're Tim, right? You're Tim?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Pronounce your name one more time. I know I just butchered it.
Siriaka.
Siriaka.
It's like Siri on your phone plus Aka.
Siriaka. Okay. Got it.
or Syria, the country, plus Ka.
Okay, got it. That makes it simple. So I will, yes, I see your email here. I'll make note of it and I will send you an email with our information.
Thank you.
I would love to just hear feedback from folks on the timing, because I know we've had a little more participation. Usually some other times we're trying different timings, but if you have a timing that's better for you, or I think it'd be nice to take a little poll here. Just type it in the chat if you feel like it doesn't really matter, or if there's certain timings, like if it's later in the evening, that makes more sense. Just because we want to reach as many people as possible. And Tim and I were just talking a little bit before the discussion about timing and figuring out a time that works for people. I myself have family and evening things going on, but you know, we want people to participate. So, thanks, Siriaka.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Janelle. It was nice to see you. Janelle, do you mind my asking how you got interested in this topic? Maybe you can't respond.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, no, I just wanted to learn more about gut health. So when I saw it on Meetup, I definitely want to be a part of it and listen to it for sure.
Yeah, is there any other topics, Siriaka or Janelle or Steve, that you feel, or Wendy, we haven't heard from Wendy, that you feel like might be interesting to hear about? I mean, I think we've had a talk on anxiety, some natural ways to deal with anxiety and depression, and we've also had a talk. What was our other talk about, Tim? I'm just blanking right now.
Yeah.
The first one.
It was
was related to the obesity code.
Yeah. Intermittent fasting. We talked
yes. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. Oh, it looks like Wendy's been with us before. Thanks, Wendy.
I think Wendy tried to join us last time, but there was an issue with the Zoom link.
Oh, sorry, Wendy.
Correct. I watched it after the fact. No.
Thank you.
No, I didn't watch the anxiety one, but the I think it was the fasting one that I had watched later.
Got it.
Wendy, where are you from, if you don't mind my
Atlanta.
Oh, great. Oh, this is good timing. You guys are in your evening, so this is good timing for you.
Yeah.
This is about 7.
Yes.
That's right.
What is the best way to reach out to one of you guys, Tim or Dr. Milan, if we wanted to reach out to y'all personally, via Facebook, look you up on Facebook, or?
I think if you're interested in specific care, then you can just email me at my business. We can set up a time to talk. I'm looking into doing coaching outside of California. I'm legally licensed in California, so my meetup groups are in California to do treatment. But if you're looking for coaching, health coaching, then I can do outside of California. And then Tim is a life coach, so he can.
Yep, and I put my email in there. Would be glad to, if you have questions or comments or think I can help with anything, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, happy to help. Happy to share. I have a lot of videos on my website and blogs. I've written some blogs on COVID recently. I'm trying to formulate a new one because I'm treating some folks with post-COVID syndrome. So that's going to be a new area, which I think, and maybe maybe we can talk about that next time, Tim, as COVID and post-COVID syndrome. I think a lot of people will be interested in post-COVID syndrome. We're seeing that. And how do we take care of those folks? They are having extreme fatigue for 3 to 6 months and a lot of symptoms. So that's going to be a big area for the next 2 years as we deal with COVID.
That's great. Yeah, maybe we'll check that out next time. And if you see things that are interest either on Millen's group or my group, feel free to hop on to these meetups for sure. I put my email there in the chat if anyone needs it. So
I'm also looking at doing one on hormones. I know a lot of women and men are interested on topic area I've thought about doing a talk on. If you guys have any other topic suggestions, just throw it in the chat. That'd be great. Gives us ideas about what to create for you
Yep. Or if you're thinking about it afterwards, either shoot us an email, or if you join that Facebook group, that's a good place to interact too. But any way that works best for you. Okay. Any closing thoughts, Millen?
No, just reach out if you have any other questions about your gut. And thank you. This was a great group, and I like the discussion part of it. We did a little differently this time, so I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, happy to be of service. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you all, and hope to see you again on another meetup.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Nice to see you.
Oh, I leave. Okay, leave.
Are you there, Tim?